Sup gamers, Random Potato here, covering the latest and the final early access update for Darkest Dungeon 2 before we get the full 1.0 release on May 8th. This update is pretty large and pretty broad, mostly focused on changing up the road mechanics and the map routing mechanics, but also making a lot of quality of life changes and a lot of interesting changes to the confessions. Anyway, let's just go through it. Here's the overview. Routes, they're changing routes. New stagecoach controls. Pets are a big thing. Shorter Valley is also very good. They changed Loathing. They changed the torch, and confessions now vary in length and features. Anyway, let's go to the more detailed patch notes. So we now have Stagecoach tokens. This is a new change. If you watched the stream yesterday, this was like the primary change they were pushing. You now have two types of tokens, wheels and armor. And on routes, there are now 5 different route types. There's still the normal safe route, and there's still the normal road fight route, except road fights have now changed to where there is no road fight timer. And then they have 3 new road types. They have the rough patch, which basically there's no fight or any mechanic like traps, as some people predicted. Basically, it's an animation. It deducts a wheel token, and then you'll get a little animation, and you lose a wheel token. And then there are hazards, where the same happens, but it's an armor token. And there's the Oblivion's Tier, which is the new loathing system. You just pass through this road, you'll pass through a little tear, and you'll gain 1 loathing. So that's the first, and that's the major change in this update. And the main thing with this change is you're getting less road fights, because road fights are only 1 of 5 instead of 1 of 2 now. But when you do get road fights, they are more impactful. At least that is the idea. And so when you lose these tokens from rough patches and hazards, the main mechanic is once you get down to 0 tokens, you are then enter a fight, an automatic fight, where you will lose 1 hero per turn. So it's a standard pillager fight, although I think they're supposed to be adding harder mashes here. But you lose 1 hero per turn, which makes it, like I said, less road fights, but more impactful, more dangerous, more challenging road fights. But the overall length of the game, because of this road fight mechanic, has been shortened. And for me, that's something I've been pushing for a long time, and I'm happy we are finally getting much shorter runs. I'm still a little iffy on all the extra mechanics they added to enable this, the armor and the wheels. We'll see how it feels. We'll do some runs, obviously, this weekend. Both uploaded and streamed, so we'll see how it feels. But I am happy about less road fights. They changed how the stagecoach is controlled, as you can see here. You'll see, if you watched the stream yesterday, you can see you're no longer actually driving through the intersections, which was really annoying sometimes, and sometimes you end up going the wrong path. Now it's click and hold, basically, sort of scenario at the intersection, so it's much harder to go the wrong way, and you're not wildly trying to maneuver your stagecoach. Also, shorter distance between nodes, so that makes the game even faster. Like I said, it's great. Hoping we can get a normal run consistently under 3 hours. That would be ideal for me. And then we have pets. There are 10 pets as we know, pets have been telegraphed since the beginning. There's a slot for them. Basically, they add little minor changes that can impact a run. Like it says here, the first 6 pets, they synergize with specific categories of Stagecoach items. By the way, Stagecoach items now have categories. So you can sort of... what you do with pets, once you unlock them at the Altar of Hope, you purchase them for 1 relic at the first inn. You can only equip them at the first inn. And then you can sort of develop a Stagecoach build. So like it says here, Unnatural Outlet, 5% debuff chance when you have Ticker's gear equipped. So you can sort of... it is kind of hard, obviously, to get like the correct Stagecoach item. It's a lot of RNG. But theoretically, you can build... you can do builds around your pet. And of course, they have the final pets like the Shambler, I think, Crimson Tick. They've got some rare pets that take a while to unlock with more powerful combat-focused effects. They have shortened the valley. They have finally, after months of asking, moved the altar to the start of your run, even before your confession. And they've removed the Hoarder and the Assassin encounter, and obviously the altar from the valley. So all you do is 1 fight. It's very quick. So the valley, they've cut minutes off that to further make the game much easier to replay. They've changed Loathing, like I said. The Oblivion Tears, which are road conditions, or also you'll see the Oblivion's Tear above some nodes. They all add 1 Loathing, and max Loathing is now 4. And just like before, anytime you do a fight, you reduce your Loathing. And now instead of the Exemplar battle that happened with the old Loathing, obviously that would be crazy with a 4 Loathing system to have Exemplar. Now it basically gives a buff to the confession boss. Each confession boss is different. And it'll have like minor effects on the party, and it'll also increase the confession boss's health. So Loathing does matter now. Loathing is something that you have to pay attention to. I know none of us paid attention to it. Previously, it was just basically there. I'm really glad they added the system. Makes it a lot, just more interesting mechanics, more thought into planning your route. In my opinion, that's one of my favorite parts of the game. That's something they brought over from Slay the Spire that just wasn't there in the first game. Obviously, in the first game, you had curios, but frankly, I found those less interesting than all the different mechanics they have now introduced in this game that you have to consider. They've changed the torch. You can now blind enemies at highlight, and you get blinded in the dark. So torch is a bit more important now. And they're also changing... and they got rid of... like I said earlier, they're getting rid of the Infernal Torch for now because they're going to make that a little more interesting. They know right now Infernal Torch is not challenging. It's just kind of something you slap on once you're decent enough at the game and there's no real problem. So that has changed. And here's, in my opinion, the biggest part of the update. They are now changing and varying the length of confessions. They now have a beginner mode, Denial. It only has two regions, no sluice, no shroud, no feeder, and you do not need a trophy when doing Denial now. And you also get Loathing more slowly. So Denial is only 2 regions, and it's the easier regions, and you don't need a trophy. And also, no Exemplar. So this means we get quicker runs. These runs are maybe an hour, hour and a half. They're a bit short. You don't really get time to get all the loot you want, like to really set up the trinkets the way you want. So I'll probably still play the longer version of the games But I will also probably, for some of my challenge runs, use this shorter denial. Like I said, this is, in my opinion, making this more replayable by getting shorter runs. Resentment and Obsession are the same, except they are reducing, I saw later in the patch notes, they're reducing the length of the final region, so it's a little more reasonable. This in conjunction with less road fights and hopefully just quicker road travel in general should make most runs, even in the longer version of the game, under 3 hours. Hopefully down to like 2.5, I think would be the sweet spot for this game. And they also confirmed they will have the full length denial in the 1.0 version of the game, and you'll have customizable length runs, which in my opinion is amazing. And finally, we have some balancing. They nerfed the hospital, which is good. It was a little too OP, in my opinion. While they buffed the hoarder, more trinkets, more rare trinkets, which is very good. Improved in selection, very good. Academic caches are better, which is nice. They were kind of a, I mean, I still consider them a good node because of the relics, but they buffed them a little bit more. Improved drop rates on cultists. They've reduced trinket prices and Stagecoach item prices. This makes it easier to, you know, make each run feel different, because you can like focus on a build. You have enough money, you'll have enough relics, you'll have enough baubles to focus on a build, a specific build that you want to make that works with your team, that works with your pet. In my opinion, this is a great idea. Obviously, you don't want it like too cheap to where you're just always getting the same rare trinkets, like you're forcing one region, hitting up the hoarder, always getting like certain rare trinkets because they're so cheap, but we'll see how the balance is. They changed memories. Memories are now unlocked by defeating the confession boss. So you can no longer like play one confession and stack five memories on a hero. You'll have to unlock one at a time. So that's a little bit of a change for memory. I don't really play with memories, obviously, because I do like random teams, so it's really not a thing. Assassin encounters have been changed. They're supposed to be more consistent. You can also get repair tokens for your wheels and your Stagecoach items and stuff like that. Oh, interesting. I didn't actually know this added additional effects to... So hospital and hoarder location scouting will also increase their shop selection. This actually makes those Stagecoach items much, much better. So that's actually a really interesting thing. Alright, and like I said, the final region has been reduced in Acts 2 and 3. Candle rewards have been increased. This makes region goals a little more important. Obviously, for those of us with maxed out altars, this doesn't matter, but for newer players, this makes it much easier to sort of get going, start unlocking more things, make runs more interesting. Added new stuff, added new stuff. More candles, more candles, more candles. More UI changes. All right, heroes. They did change some things with heroes. So we all know the Vestal patch note, the Vestal path system made direct changes to her skills rather than like giving a blanket buff. Red Hook has now confirmed that the hero paths will all be changed by 1.0 to this new system where it directly changes your skills instead of just having like a separate counter. This will also improve. Like you'll be able to use strength tokens better, obviously, So this will actually improve. This is actually a buff for certain heroes. Right now, they've only rolled it out for Grave Robber. So this will also affect things like Venom Drop Path. This will now allow you to buff your Blight from flashing daggers because it is directly applied to the skill when you choose the path instead of being an additional buff. So this will actually be scalable, which makes it much, much better. Still not good, but, you know. They've also buffed Illumination. They buffed the Knight, which is a bit scary. Replaced a Lair Boss trophy. Oh, we'll have to go to the Shroud now and see what that actually is. Interesting. They have new baubles for the Valley. New Stagecoach items to accompany the new Stagecoach mechanics. Oh, and another big thing for newer players. They have greatly expanded the default item pool for new profiles. You now have all these rare trinkets right here. These are all the rare, I call them colorless, probably from Slay the Spire, but like generic rare trinkets. Like this one is the like the one that gives just flat 20% damage, flat 20% HP, plus 6 speed. You also now have Laudanum, this is really important. It's hard for newer players to control their stress. So now Laudanum is a base unlock combat item, as well as Milk-Soaked Linen, Smoke Bombs, the Clarifying Poultice, which is stun resist, which is very relevant for denial. They also removed Noisemaker for some reason. Oh, and like I said, they changed Stagecoach item tags. They made a few changes here. They changed Whiskey Barrel and Whiskey Bottle to make them like Giga RNG stuff. Increased scouting. They changed basically a lot of things. I'm not going to go through all. Oh, one more huge change they made. They changed the dot application trinkets to be flat instead of percentage based. So this makes it a little bit easier to scale, and it also allows you to use these trinkets on, say, random heroes that don't have burn, like with the Charred Litany. It's just +3 burn. So this is a little bit of a change. We'll see how it feels, but I like this change. It's just a flat change instead of percentages. I kind of like not having to worry about percentages, you know. The only percentages I want to worry about, you know, the 50% damage from strength, the change with crit and weak. Any reduction in like the Dark Dungeon one, you know, running a calculator simulator that we had is good. And that's basically it. Like I said, I'll be playing this all weekend. You'll probably see some streams. You'll see some different runs. Next Tuesday will be the pet tier list for Tier List Tuesday. We'll be covering all the pets in detail and ranking them. And next Friday, we'll have a full guide on the Loathing and Stagecoach mechanic system. And then we will continue on to 1.0. So thank you all for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed the new update.